Norm Coleman, former U.S. Senator from Minnesota, our friend joining us on our Newsmaker line for his assessment. What was your headline on the debate last night there, sir?
Well, first, experience counts. It counts in the political process. I'm one of Charles Krauthammer's biggest fans. He's the smartest guy that I know, Scott.
He is a smart guy. I love his analysis always.
That I know. But I think Romney has shown himself to be the adult in the conversation. He's just mature. He's measured. And most important, he's got 24 years of experience in the private sector. He started off that debate right off the bat. I thought he hit it out of the park talking about jobs. He's got a plan. He knows what to do to turn this economy around. And the other folks, they're all good folks there, but experience counts. I think if you listen to Krauthammer, you saw that with Perry. He's still the rookie in the race. And then ultimately, we've seen what happens with lack of experience when we have a president that doesn't have it, who's now in charge of this country and running our economy into the ground.
What would you say, there would be, and I want you to think about this answer. We're going to take a break here because we're up against the clock. We'll come back and talk a little bit about this. My question for you on your point that experience counts, if I was to look at the experience as Mitt Romney as governor of Massachusetts and the experience of Rick Perry as governor of Texas, what do you think is a better fit for what this country needs ultimately going forward? Think about that. We'll tackle that when we come back on the other side of the break. By the way, Norm Coleman has come out and endorsed Mitt Romney. We'll talk with him about that decision as well on the Common Sense Club. And, of course, welcome more of your take on last night's debate. Everybody's referring to Gary Johnson's bombshell line, a joke that Rush Limbaugh told yesterday on the air. So I'd love to know if he heard that and thought, I got to use that tonight. That's a classic. Or whether it's just coincidence that Rush used it yesterday and Gary Johnson uses it in the debate. But dog-eat doo-doo and shovel-ready jobs, the premise of the humor that everybody's calling the line of the night last night. That's still to come, too, on the Common Sense Club and the Scott Hennen Show. We're going to try and see if we can move Lynn Helms around here a little bit so we can chat with Norm Coleman some more when we come back on the Common Sense Club. Don't go away. On the Common Sense Club and a Scott Hennen Show. Our conversation continues with former Senator Norm Coleman reviewing last night's presidential debate. He has endorsed Mitt Romney in this race. So experience is what you said, Norm, obviously is key. If you're a Republican Party faithful out there, Tea Party member, desperately wanting to turn this country around, seeing where Obama's taken it, and you look at the experience of a Governor Mitt Romney in Massachusetts versus a Governor Rick Perry in Texas, which do you think has the better record of job creation and whether it be healthcare policy or just an overall general command of the experience necessary? Let
me just expand the question. I'm going to get right to the question, but it's really important, Scott, that and this is what Tea Party folks understand, or you understand, and it's not about just about government experience. That's the difference here. Mitt Romney's got 24 years in the private sector. He knows that government doesn't grow jobs. Democrats ask about how many jobs does the government grow. Right? What we ask is what does it take to grow a job? So it's the 24 years in the private side, plus the fact that when Mitt Romney was governor, unemployment dropped, the job growth expanded, and I don't want to shoot at Romney. I mean, the reality was when Romney was governor, Perry. I don't want to shoot at Perry. Perry was governor. I think unemployment doubled, had the highest rate of uninsured. I think Governor Romney's record is a fine record. But you all have to put in the context what we know, and that government doesn't create jobs. They shape an environment to grow jobs. And so Romney brings that 24 years in the private side, and that's what we're missing today. We got a guy that doesn't know running the show as a president, doesn't know a thing about what it takes to grow a job. He thinks more spending and more government programs are going to create more jobs. Nada. Doesn't work. And so that's the difference, and that's what ultimately what drew me to Mitt Romney is that I think he's the guy that can beat Obama, because when you do the comparisons, it's going to be clear that you're going to get a guy with a private sector experience, knows about growing jobs. And many have said it. I'll repeat it. It's the career politicians that got us into this problem. They're not going to get us out. They're not going to get us out. And so I know, and I've been involved in government a big portion of my life, and I have great respect for the good things that it needs to do. But that private sector experience is absolutely critical. But when the number one issue facing this country for folks through whether it's in the Midwest, whether it's in the East and the South, whatever, it's jobs. It's jobs, it's jobs, it's jobs. And on that, you can't compare Mitt Romney and anybody else on that stage, and there are a lot of good folks on that stage.
And you're certainly right. Mitt Romney has more private sector experience than Rick Perry by a long shot. Obviously, Rick Perry spent the lion's share of his time in government and one, ag commissioner on up, lieutenant governor, and then governor, without question. But it's almost as if Mitt Romney's government service is a detriment to his candidacy, especially with a solid conservative base out there right now. I mean, that almost hurts him more than it helps him, doesn't it?
I don't think so. Yeah, one, he gets elected. It's in Massachusetts. He gets elected, by the way, Republican in Massachusetts. You got to win. You got to win to govern. Conservatives want to win. The worst thing that can happen to this country is 4 more years of Barack Obama. People wanted to change Washington a couple of years ago. They didn't want to change America. They're seeing a change in America that is just killing this country. And we're seeing it with the economy. We're seeing it with a lack of standing in the world. We're seeing it with the challenge we have by not standing shoulder to shoulder with our ally Israel. And so, no, you've got a guy, you look at his record, and a record, by the way, of growing jobs, of cutting unemployment. That's what people are looking for. And I think in the end, that's going to be what's going to be. So listen, I represent Minnesota, a tough state for conservatives to win in. A very tough state. And so I understand the challenges that you face operating in those environments. And I think in the end, it's going to be who has the best chance of beating Barack Obama, who's a good, solid conservative, and Romney is. One thing's, as Edward Matter, read his book. Take a look at what this guy has to say. He's kind of laid it out there. And I think there's just no question. Conservatives, in the end, should be very comfortable with a guy who has espoused conservative principles, led conservative principles in a very blue state, and showed that you can grow jobs, drop unemployment, and make a difference.
If there's a word I could describe about Mitt Romney with the lion's share of a solid conservative Tea Party type base, it's suspicion. Mainly, I think, because they see some positions that have evolved over the years and wonder if it isn't just a little bit too much political pandering rather than firm convictions of solid conservative principles. What advice would you have for Mitt Romney to overcome that suspicion and that just sort of tepid support out there for him? Obviously, folks want Obama defeated more than anything, but there is there is a great deal of suspicion towards Mitt Romney. Should there be?
Two things. One, which I think he's already done, is put it out there, put it in writing, and then you got to live by it. I mean, that's, by the way, one of the problems that Perry has right now. He put some things in writing, and it's finding it hard to live by them. So Mitt's put it in writing. He put in writing what he's written. He's put it in writing in a jobs plan that he put out. He's the only guy out there who's got a jobs plan that says here's how I'm going to do it. And then be prepared to be measured by what you've done and what you say and what you've written. So I think if you put in black and white, you kind of lay it out. This is here's who I am. Here's where I'm at. And just by the way, to end it, it's got to perform like he did in the debate last night. I think Krautheimer, was on before me, kind of laid it out very clearly. He was the guy that really showed the maturity and the wisdom and conservative principles that we need to run this country, and we need to have somebody in office so that those principles are the principles that guide this country, not the disaster that we're facing right now. This country economically needs a turnaround. This country needs to stop the bleeding in debt. This country needs to make sure that America's place in the world is lifted up again and respected. And by the way, sometimes feared. We have none of that right now. You got one guy who really, if you kind of watch that debate last night, showed that he's ready to serve. And to those who have concerns, take a look at what he's written. Listen to what he says. Watch him in these debates. And I think in the end, he's the guy that's going to get the nomination and then move this country in the right direction. We can't take 4 more years of Barack Obama.
Is this a 2-person race now?
I with great respect to my friend Michelle Bachmann, who's an important voice in our party. You talk about courage and commitment and integrity. That's Michelle. I think Perry came in and kind of sucked a lot of the oxygen out of the room for her. So, I'll let others figure that out. I don't want to discount her ever at all. She's a very dear friend. She's a good person. She's an important voice in the party. But in the end, do I believe that Mitt Romney has the best chance of beating Barack Obama? I believe that his 24 years of job growth in the private sector is going to be a virtue when it comes to the broader electorate. I do. So let others figure out how many are in this race. Clearly, all the polls would tell you those are the top two right now. Michelle Bachmann's going to have an important voice in this party. There's no question about that, and in this country. Mitt Romney's the guy that has the best chance of beating Barack Obama. Mitt Romney has the private sector experience that we need to grow jobs, and I think in the end, he's going to be the guy that carries us forward.
Interestingly enough, at this point in the 2008 cycle, the two top vote getters, the poll numbers, the leaders were Rudy Giuliani at number 1 and Fred Thompson at number 2. And you had McCain down there at number 3.
But at this point in the cycle, you didn't have the kind of the remember their guys in office right now. Okay, so our guys have now been out there. They've had debates. They've been subject to.
It's a different, very different dynamic. No question about that. Great insight, great analysis from a good friend, Norm Coleman. Good to catch up with you, Senator. Take care.
Always a pleasure, Scott. Take care. Thank you. Scott, take care. Thank you.